to 2 Kings chapter 9 and 10. I am Willie Dalton, and I'll be your guide through these chapters today. So, where we left off, we saw yet another king, Ahaziah, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord. Surprise, surprise. Isn't this just the theme of the book of Kings? But moving onwards, we certainly have Elisha still in play, and he's going to do something really big and meaningful here soon in chapter 9, and that is that he's going to anoint a new king in a really unique way. That king started out as a military general by the name of Jehu. And I want you to go and take a look at the anointing of Saul as some background and context for how unique what's about to happen is. And so Elisha receives this prophecy that Jehu is going to be king. And he sends out his messenger to go track this dude down. I like to imagine that this plays out kind of like a spy movie, that this dude, this messenger is sneaking around through all the dusty back alleyways, trying to find where the hideout of this general is. And when he finally does, he kind of lies in wait in like a dark, shadowy corner. And then when Jehu walks in, he kind of like jumps out and surprises him. He's like, hey, joke's on you, you're the next king. And just like that, he like scampers across the street, and then a bus drives between the two of them, and he's gone when the bus drives past. So a very interesting way to kind of jump out and like the surprise anointing. The generals that are there with him kind of like exclaim out, like, who was that guy? Like, why did he pull you aside? And he says, I'm going to be king. And he does actually start out with good intentions. I think that's kind of the theme of these two chapters in Jehu's kingship specifically, is that his intentions were good. He certainly wanted to serve the Lord and did so in a lot of really beautiful and zealous ways. But he also certainly went too far. But before we get that, he has to confirm his kingship. And so he does that by going out and taking care of another evil king, as you do in these times. And this king goes by the name of Joram. And Joram is related to Jezebel. Surprise, surprise, she's still in play. And I like to imagine that this movie scene opens up with King Joram kind of slouching on his throne off in like some dark, shadowy room of his castle. And so Jehu grabs his chariot and a few strong men and goes to Joram's castle, and he, standing out there in the open, kind of almost says a your mom joke to get Joram's attention. He says that as long as your mom Jezebel is still queen, that there can never be peace. And so this, kind of ruffles Joram's feathers a little bit, and he actually comes out like the messenger, keeps relaying these messages back and forth, and he's like, okay, what the heck, I'll go out there. And he rides his chariot out there and asks Jehu what the heck his intentions are and what's going on. And after taunting him, he takes the hint that Jehu's probably not there with peaceful intentions. And so he turns his chariot right around to get the heck out of there, but Jehu goes full Legolas and takes him out with an arrow from long distance. And scene. Now, as fun as that movie was, there's more to these chapters. There's a lot going on, and specifically with Jezebel. We see her come into play because because Jehu is really on a bent here. Like, he wants to do everything that God has called him to do. And as we can look back into the prophecies in the last section, where you saw my face talking about 1 Kings, that Jezebel is not long for this world. And sure enough, Jehu is here to take care of Joram and Jezebel and all these people. And he makes sure that happens. And lo and behold, the prophecy comes to pass that Jezebel is no longer with us. And I think, well, yes, this is certainly what God wanted. Jehu just goes too hard. He ends up going after the Baal worshippers and kind of tricks them into thinking that there's going to be this great big worship night. And he locks them all in a room in their temple and kills them all, and then turns that temple into a latrine. Like, he's just really sticking it to him and seems to be really excited about all his work. But as we can see, that zeal that he is expressing for what God has called him to do, he takes it just a bit too far. And as you can see in chapter 10, in verse 31, nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, "You have done well in following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Therefore, your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the 4th generation." Great. I've done what you wanted. You're giving me what you said you would. But it goes on to say, Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. And that's important, because we can serve so zealously, so passionately, but if our intentions kind of put on our blinders to the rest of the historical context of serving God and what it makes up for, what it means to serve with respect for those that came before us and go after us, that it's really easy to lose your way, and Jehu shows us that. So I challenge you to think about what it means to serve zealously, because I certainly have a mostly negative connotation with that word in today's context, and how you can do so without losing